Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioners Clubhouse on the LCC network for week 18 of the offseason. It's crazy. We're getting deeper and deeper into the fantasy offseason, but we've got some big stuff to talk about this week. With me today, I got Isaac. How's it going?
What up? What up?
And we got Jameson.
Yeah. So you're shut up, Isaac. So you're absolutely right. We're halfway through the
shout out
fantasy offseason, 4 months until week 1. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at LCC Clubhouse. Comment on the videos on YouTube. Keeper deadline is May 12th. So it's sneaking up on us. So I know no one's probably thinking about that yet. We almost kind of forgot about it too, but so next week's episode is going to focus on some roster stuff, some keeper advice. I know we've done a little bit of that, but we'll do a little bit more before you all have to make decisions. This episode, we've got NFL draft recap. We're going to talk about players that we like, players we don't like based on where they went. Isaac's got some other players to watch, and then some other fantasy winners and losers from the NFL. So with that, I mean, we'll dive right into it. We got a lot of information, so we're not going to take any breaks. All right, guys. So NFL draft recap here. We wanted to make sure that we discuss some of the best fits post-draft, what we thought about and what that can mean for your fantasy team as we head towards the rookie draft and the waiver wire and then the draft after that. So we're going to go by position, make it easy. So we'll start with Kyler Murray, a new Cardinals front office. They shipped out Rosen. Cliff Kingsbury recruited Kyler Murray out of school. He's athletic. He runs the ball. Me and Isaac were talking about it at the draft in Charlotte. We're pretty excited about it. I know I've got him already between QB 15 and 20. I think Isaac's pretty similar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I got him about 12 to 15. So, yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think someone's going to spend a late pick on him, for their QB too, especially after seeing what Baker Mayfield did last year. I think someone wants to take a shot at that kind of upside, versus overtaking a guy like Andy Dalton or Matt Stafford, like a guy who maybe isn't as safe, but has more upside, heading into the 2019 season. So,
I mean, just look at Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Both of them were fantasy relevant, and both of them were rookies, but their running ability really helped both of them, and Kyler Murray definitely has that running ability.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're not considering, think about him. At first I was kind of like, ugh, I don't want him. But I thought about it, and I was like, oh, I'll take him over this guy and this guy and this guy. And before I knew it, he was like QB 16. So,
yeah, me and Jameson literally at the draft party, he was going back and forth. Would you take him over him? 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 Like, yes, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really surprising.
I mean, his situation is no worse than Lamar Jackson's was in Baltimore last year as a rookie. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I'm like, well, if that's the case, then he's definitely a guy to definitely look at as a really good backup.
Oh yeah,
but I think he's a far better passer though.
Way better passer.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Way better passer, and he's still athletic. Keem Butler, Larry Fitz, David Johnson. I mean, there's a lot more weapons there than there was in Baltimore too. So seriously consider Kyler Murray if you can get him at a good value. Don't overpay for him, but give him at a good value. So.
Wait, so not a first-round pick?
Yeah, well, you can do that, Pat. That's fine. Go ahead, man. We'll be sure to wave at you from the playoffs if you take Kyler Murray with the first-round pick. So running backs here, a couple of these guys that we thought we liked. Josh Jacobs went to the Raiders right where we mocked him going to, so that was pretty cool. He's going to be fantasy relevant from day one. I think he's going to be the primary back. Not a lot of competition there. Isaiah Crowell, Jalen Richard. These are guys who haven't been productive for the majority of their careers. I think the biggest question, I mean, I think he's a solid back. I think he could be, RB 15 to 20, somewhere like that in his first year. The biggest question is, what do you guys think his rookie value is? Is he a fourth round pick? Is he a third round pick? I mean, what would you guys give up for him?
I personally see him as a fourth round pick. That's kind of my analysis on that. I mean, who's really there to truly challenge him in that backfield in Oakland? And I feel like they're finally going to have a young stud. I think he's going to be pretty solid. He's definitely a guy worth drafting. And I think fourth round is pretty safe, at least in our conference.
I would say a little bit higher. I'd say around a third. but I can definitely see somebody either spending a first or high second on him just
Oh, for
because
sure.
of the past with McCaffrey and with Barkley, with Fournette. Somebody's going to overpay. So, guys, don't panic. Don't overpay. Try to get the best value. If you really want him, go get him. But if not, just sit back and be patient.
Yeah, I think I've got a third round grade on him
And-
too. I probably would hesitate to give up anything higher than that, just because it's still Oakland. There's still a little bit of concern there
Yeah.
with John Gruden, but he does like to run the ball. He does like big backs. So I mean, someone will take a shot at
And
him.
I'll put it this way: a lot of places where I'm seeing him mocked in fantasy drafts right now are between the 4th and 5th round, and those are standard scoring leagues and no non-IDP. So if that tells you anything, where he may fall in our league, if you did a mock draft right now, he probably would fall a little bit later because of that.
Another running back here, we got Miles Sanders, who was drafted to the Eagles in the 2nd round. So it's pretty high draft capital for them. Unfortunately, we do think he will be in a committee with a couple other running backs, at least Jordan Howard, maybe more, although I don't think they're as much of a threat as Howard is. He's a very talented player, sat behind Saquon Barkley. He catches passes very well, which is great in a PPR league like ours. So I think, Isaac and I both agree that we think he has a lot of fantasy value, I think, going into this season.
Absolutely. I'm pretty high on Miles Sanders. Yes, they got the running back committee there in Philly, but he's very, very talented player that can run between the tackles and catch. Howard's really good at running between the tackles too, but he can't catch. So I feel like he's going to be the lead guy in that running back committee next year.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm actually, if he was in another team, I would probably be more excited about Miles Sanders, even more so than Josh Jacobs. But it's just he's in that committee, man. It's gonna be tough to see him even potentially relevant for a number of weeks.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll
see. Talent wise, I love Sanders over Jacobs, but Jacobs has got the better opportunity, no doubt. Wide receivers here, wide receivers / tight ends. Although I think we've only got wide receivers here. We're gonna start with N'Keal Harry. Went to the Patriots. I love this pick. I'll tell you guys, I'm kind of playing my hand here. I will be targeting N'Keal Harry, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you too. I think this is gonna be the offensive rookie of the year.
If you want to crown them, then crown their.
So I'm going after him. There's no Gronk, there's no Hogan, there's no Josh Gordon. Tons of targets up for grabs. Edelman's in the slot. The Patriots need a number 1 wide receiver. He's big, he's strong. I love N'Keal Harry this year.
Gay.
Wait, they're so stupid. A couple other receivers we've got here. Isaac loves this guy. McCole Hardman at the Chiefs. Isaac, why don't you tell us a little bit about him? So I know you like him so much.
Thanks, man. He's going to be the star next to Sammy Watkins. Andy Reid and MVP Mahomes loves to throw the deep ball. He ran a 4.33 at the combine, which is the same as Brandon Cooks. So think big play with Mahomes. He's going to produce really. I really like him, and he's probably going to be a guy I try to target too. We'll talk about Tyreek Hill's situation a little bit later. If you guys are wondering, Tyreek Hill's on the team too. We'll get to that, but yeah, he should start right next to Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, I've seen him mocked pretty high in a lot of rookie drafts. People seem to be really high on him.
He's even going as far as even the 4th round in a lot of standard scoring leagues right now. Which is
4th round,
completely unreasonable to me, but someone's doing it. Someone out there is doing it.
I think that's draft fever or something, because that's like AJ Green territory and like a normal standard draft almost. That's crazy. Another receiver here. I love this pick. I already liked him before he went to the Colts, but I love the fit for him. Paris Campbell, out of Ohio State, is great. He's got a great quarterback and a team that loves to throw the ball. A great offensive line. I think he's going to fit as a number 2 right next to T.Y. Hilton. Devin Funchess is not a threat to me other than end zone, possible receptions if he even catches the ball. So I love Paris Campbell, not as much as N'Keal Harry, but he's a guy I might look to late in the draft, maybe like a 10th or 11th pick or something like that if I needed a third receiver.
See, I'm not as high on him as you are. what I see where he went, I was a big fan of him out of Ohio State, but I keep thinking Philip Dorsett. He's a lot of hype, and then he's just not going to produce. He's the same type of speed burner that Philip Dorsett is. Yes, he's a little bit taller, but I mean, that's about it. They both were super fast and productive in college. So we'll see if Andrew Luck actually utilizes him, or is he just going to be another guy lost on that offense?
No, you're right. You're right. People should listen to Isaacs. That way no one else bids on him, and I can get him real low and real cheap. So he can be
and
my
then
guy.
I could be like, Jameson, I told you so when he buys him, and
that's,
not worth anything.
That's why I want to get him real low and real cheap, just in case.
I see him
another
with
guy,
like 600 receiving yards. That's kind of my thought.
Oh, at least I would hope so. If he doesn't break that,
I think it's gonna be 600. I think it's gonna be 600 to 800. I don't think he gets.
Okay, that's high.
That's not. I mean, that's
600 to 800. I could see that, dude.
I see like 5 to 7.
I mean, that's not way off. That's not much off, but I mean, I think he'll be in that range.
Mine,
yeah. I mean, that's possible.
No, mine's lower.
God. One more receiver here, Pat. This was actually your guy going into the rookie episode like a while back. DK Metcalf went to the Seahawks. I didn't love this at first. The more I thought about it, the more I kind of liked it. He's probably going to inherit that number one role. It looks like Doug Baldwin might be retiring. So this kind of hinges on Baldwin's retirement, obviously. He is a freak athlete. He's huge. He's strong. He's fast. He did have some injuries in his career. He did play with A.J. Brown at Ole Miss, and A.J. Brown did produce more than he did. But I think with that speed, I mean, his average yards per catch. Do you know what his average yards per catch was, Isaac? His last season at Ole Miss?
18?
31. Because he's so fast and he's so large. If you toss it 50 yards down the field, he's going to catch it. The Seahawks like to run the ball, but they just paid Russell Wilson $33 million a year. I don't think they're going to keep running the ball to win 9 games. I think they're going to, they drafted 3 receivers, so they need to throw.
I think the reason why they drafted 3 receivers is because of the fact they built themselves around this persona of being a pound the rock type offense. Now, I think they're going to intend to do that, but I think they went the receiver out because of Baldwin's retirement lingering potentially this offseason. I mean, they're a play action team, man. And if you get DK Metcalf going deep on a play action pass and you got a safety that bites in that corner is not going to be able to keep up, man. Like, good luck. That's all I've got to say is DK taking it to the house.
Yeah, that's all of his last year. That's all of his film is just him catching, fly routes down the field. So I think
that's the really crappy thing is DK only knows 3 routes.
That is true. That is true. That could definitely limit what he does.
And the fly route is his main one. He just runs straight.
But what he can be good at.
Pee-wee. All right, you see that way, you run that way.
Yeah.
You catch the ball. You see ball, catch ball.
Well, he could definitely be a boomer bust guy for sure.
Yeah,
he could definitely. Yeah. I could see some huge games from him, and then just disappearing in other games. 3 other guys. I don't think we have to talk a ton about because I think we all love them. I know Isaac and I do. I think you do too, Pat. We all love where they went. Nick Bosa to the 49ers. Isaac, if you want to say anything, you can. But I think he has immediate impact. I don't want to compliment to his brother automatically, but he did go higher in the draft than his brother did, and they both had really similar production. So in college,
I think D Ford and DeForest Buckner really helps him where he landed at the 49ers because they're going to draw a lot of double teams that should free up some things for Bosa to make some plays. I can see him finishing around top 12 and, rushers. That includes linebackers and defensive ends and tackles and all that stuff. So, yeah, top 12 is my projection for this year.
Yeah, if he does that, he's definitely worth a late round pick for sure. If you can get him at some good
Absolutely.
value. 2 guys that you won't get at good value because they're going to go super early. At least they should be. Devin White.
Super early.
Devin White and Devin Bush. White.
I was about to say, come on, Pat. You got to get in the Bush train.
Yeah, everyone's going to do it.
I was trying to do it like staggered,
I wonder if there's anyone listening that does that with us. They're just like, Bush. Devin White
when I heard his name in the draft, I immediately said Bush. Very quietly to myself since I was here by myself watching the draft.
Speaking of draft, Devin White. So we were in Charlotte, obviously, and there were tons of Panthers fans around. So the Bucks picked Devin White. Isaac throws his arms in the air in this crowd of Panthers fans. He's like, yeah, yeah. And everyone,
sorry, I can't say the F word. Everyone was like looking like.
Everyone turns around and just stares daggers at us. And I'm like, no, I've got my Panthers jersey on. It wasn't me. But Devin White to the Bucks, exactly where we mocked him to. We love him. I think he's a first-round pick. I would give up my first-round pick if I had it. Not a ton to say there. Devin Bush to the Steelers. I like that fit even more than Cincinnati. Ryan Shazier is gone. Devin Bush is going to slot right in. He's worth at least a second-round pick. I'd probably give up a first-round pick for him as well. So I know Patrick doesn't like that.
Pat's turning over right now. He's like, that's too high. They're rookies. You don't pay that much. All right, well, when they're gone and you're at the back end and have nobody to pick, you'll be like, oh, well, maybe I should have bid higher.
No, I'll be okay with it.
Yeah. All right, when I have a top 5 linebacker and I play you twice a year, you'll regret that.
Someone go draft some linebackers so Isaac and Patrick can't get them all. And me.
That's right.
So a couple of DBs here. I don't like any of these guys as much as I like Derwin James last year, but Jonathan Abrams to the Raiders. They used one of their first round picks on him, a lot of draft capital. They hate Carl Joseph for some reason. So they
really don't know why.
They hate him.
They really do.
I don't know. I thought he was pretty productive when he played, and then for some reason they just benched him forever.
Bitched him all year. And he got played 4 games last year, and then they immediately draft, starting strong safety to replace him with one of the 3 first-round picks. It's like you didn't even give the guy a chance.
Yes, Jonathan Abrams, he's got to slot right into that starting role. He tackles well. He's going to play run support. That defense can be on the field a lot if they're not better this year, although I think they will be. So Jonathan Abrams, he might be worth looking at with a fairly high pick, not as high as like a Devin White or Devin Bush, but he's someone to consider. Bush. And then Darnell Savage with the Packers. I don't love this as much because he's going to play next to Adrian Amos. And I heard it was going to be free safety, but Isaac's notes say strong safety.
Yeah, because last year, the reason Adrian Amos sucked so bad is they moved Eddie Jackson to strong and moved Adrian Amos to free. So Amos was playing deep safety and Eddie went to the box. And that's why Eddie was more productive than Amos. And that's why when they signed him, Darnell Savage is more of a tackler than a quote-unquote coverage guy. He did run a 4.3 though in the combine, but he's more of a tackler. So he's going to play strong safety, or he should at least from what I'm reading. I really love this pick.
If he plays strong safety, he'll be worth a lot. If he plays free safety, I'm not going to be as high on him.
You know, with our little stuff that we're doing on the side, that free safeties score more than strong safeties. But there's more of them.
Yeah, but they're so fluky though. They could put up 70 points in a game if they get like an intercept, like a pick 6. But strong safeties, I think, are more consistent. Like from week to week.
You just rely on tackles.
Yeah, exactly. You're relying on tackles. And I like the consistent guys, like the week-to-week consistent guys, where free safeties and corners are more like boom or bust, I think. Although they can score more over the course of the season because they can have big games.
I'm about to say, you would know you drafted Harrison Smith last year.
Yeah, that was okay, but that wasn't what I wanted it to be for sure.
Yeah, but he's the definition. Oh, yeah, he scored 55 points. He scored 1 point. How?
That's exactly what he was. That's exactly what he was. He was. He'd get me 65, 2 picks, and 3 sacks, and I'd win. And then the next week he'd give me 5 points, 1 tackle. If that, yeah.
He'll get an assist.
That was Harrison Smith.
1 assist? Really?
So someone else can deal with that misery this year. Real quickly, so these are some of our least exciting picks. We're not super excited about most of these guys. Mostly based on where they landed. Some of them, it is their talent. Some of them, we actually loved them until they went to their team. So,
exactly.
So we'll start with QBs. Really, everyone that's not Kyler Murray, don't draft him. It's that simple, honestly. Dwayne Haskins is the best option outside of them, and he's probably QB 26. In my opinion.
Yeah.
So
you would want to wait to see him actually produce before you don't draft him. All of these quarterbacks should go undrafted. And if they do get the starting nod, I mean, sure, you can maybe take a waiver wire pick on them, but they need to stay.
Yeah. Yeah, hurt their feelings. Don't draft them. So running backs here. These are all the running backs we haven't talked about really that were drafted high enough to even consider. They're buried on depth charts. They're not worth targeting unless maybe there was a deep injury somewhere. But avoid all these guys. Deep injury.
Like 3 people.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a bunch of cuts in training camp and you want to think about it, fine. But it's kind of deep right now. Bryce Love to the Redskins, Darrell Henderson to the Rams, which is unfortunate because I actually loved his talent. Devin Singletary to the Bills. Isaac, you hated him before he went to the Bills. You certainly don't love him now. Damian Harris.
Well, I didn't hate him. I just felt like his stock was falling.
Yeah, well, it fell, and he went to one of the worst places he could have went in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, he's 5'7", like 200 pounds. He's a bowling ball.
Yeah.
He's
Damian
a big boy.
He's a yeah.
Yeah, to say the least.
Damian Harris to the Patriots. He's buried on the depth chart. And then Rodney Anderson to the Bengals. I actually liked his talent a little bit too, but Joe Mixon is I mean, he's going to get almost everything in that backfield.
Is Giovanni Bernard still there?
I do not think so. I don't think so. Maybe. He might be. I don't think so.
If he is, he's definitely buried. But if not, he's the second guy, so potentially he could see, barring an injury, some playing time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, if things change in training camp, reevaluate these guys. Wide receiver and tight end, Marquise Hollywood Brown. I loved this guy before he went to Baltimore, but Lamar Jackson does not do good for receivers.
I was not super excited about him either way, me personally.
Hater.
And I'm probably one of few. I'm one of few.
Yeah, he was one of my favorites. He was right ahead of N'Keal Harry. But yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson's not going to make this guy fantasy relevant, unfortunately. I think everyone's kind of disappointed that he went to Baltimore. Similar situation with A.J. Brown, who played next to DK Metcalf in Ole Miss. Titans run the ball. They love Derrick Henry now for some reason. And he is buried on the depth chart. Corey Davis, Tawan Taylor, Tajay Sharp, Adam Humphries, Dion Lewis, Delaney Walker. These are all guys who could catch more passes than A.J. Brown this year, which is really unfortunate. Marcus Mariota is not a good fantasy quarterback, not a great real-life quarterback.
Nope.
And Patrick hates him. I hate him now that I had him for a year, and he ruined my team. So stay away from A.J. Brown. And then finally, this is where Isaac and I disagree a little bit. He's got T.J. Hawkinson here. He said Stafford doesn't throw to tight ends as much, which is true. But actually, I think I like the weapon that T.J. Hawkinson brings in the red zone. Tight ends aren't as relevant in our league, so I'm not going to go out and get him or anything like that. But I think I do like him a little more than the other guys we mentioned.
I just get so worried with how Eric Ebron performed there. I mean, he was a top prospect coming out of North Carolina, and he absolutely did nothing with the Colts with the Lions.
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, he's on the Colts now, so I am close enough. But yeah, he did nothing with the Lions, and they spent a high draft pick on him. I'm just kind of worried. I love T.J. Hawkinson as a player and his potential in the league, but I thought this was one of the worst possible landing spots for him is to be fantasy relevant.
How many tight ends does a team need? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I would say 2 or 3.
Well, they had Jesse
like
James.
These guys.
Jesse James in Detroit.
That's a backup.
Well, he is now. Yeah, they signed him, and now they got Hawkinson, but not a lot of fantasy relevance there, unfortunately. And then the last 2 guys, I hate to say this. Taylor Rapp went to the Rams. I really love the fit real life, and I love the fit long term for fantasy. But the short term is behind Eric Weddle and John Johnson, who are both capable safeties, who are also pretty fantasy relevant. So I don't know what Taylor Rapp's role is going to be. He could be a sub package guy. He could, I mean, he'll play if one of them gets injured or something like that. But I'm not as he's not going to start right away. So I'm not as hyped about him as I was before the draft.
Yeah, I could definitely see a redshirt type rookie season from him. Just like you said, sub packages, not doing too much, unless they do like this next guy and the Rams kind of copy that defense that worked so well with them in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, no, yep, Nasir Adderley with the Chargers. So the Chargers run a 4-2-5 defense in 2018. They did this a lot in the playoffs against Baltimore because of Lamar Jackson. They couldn't have linebackers on the field. I mean, he could get a starting opportunity if they play enough safeties. But again, they do have Derwin James there, who has proven to be more than capable. And so I think there are some concerns about what his role is going to be, even though they did invest some significant capital in him. We'll have to see how that kind of shakes out heading into the season. So we're not as gung-ho about that right now, but things can change as we get through training camp and whatnot. So
yeah, because I mean, Adrian Phillips, Derwin James, Nasser Adderley, James and Phillips averaged more than 29 points per game, which is definitely fantasy relevant. But the third safety was Jamal Adai, only had 24 or 25. So that he wasn't even on a roster. So you just kind of it's up in the air of which does Phillip go down, does Adderley go up? It's all just kind of a question mark right now.
Yep. Well, Isaac, go ahead and run us into your segment here of some players we might want to. We don't love these guys yet, but we might want to just kind of pay attention to them as we move through the offseason, training camp, preseason, stuff like that when injuries start happening. Handcuffs, those kind of guys keep in the back of your mind.
So, Isaac's players to watch, my segment. All right, so I'm going to start off with guys that will be fantasy relevant if the starter gets injured. All right, starting, we got Raquel Armstead, running back for the Jaguars. Leonard Fournette has got injured each of his last seasons since he's been in the league. The former Temple Owl product should have be the Jaguars' number 2 option ahead of guys like Alfred Blue and Thomas Rawls. He should be able to inherit some of Fournette's carries when he gets injured. It's not really if, it's just when. He gets hurt every year. So, James, I know you got something to add on to that.
Yeah, I may. So I may be a little biased. I'm a Fournette owner, but I am close to all the Fournette news because I do pay attention to so much of it. Fournette's been injured a lot, like you mentioned, and they've had TJ Yeldon, who hasn't been fantasy relevant even when he's played in place of Fournette. So I think I'm not as big on anyone that's going to back him up, especially a 5th-round pick. So I don't want to assume that this person will get the majority of the work, but I think it is fair to keep him in mind, given that Fournette does have a high likelihood he could go down later in the season.
Yeah, I'm not saying draft him. Do not draft him. Dear God, don't. But just keep an eye out for him if an injury happens.
Yep.
As potential.
I mean, honestly, though, like, I've always been kind of like a Thomas Rawls fan.
Oh, God.
I kind of like him more, dude. Like, I'm honestly, like,
Thomas Rawls is garbage.
Even Alfred, he's okay. He's a good backup. He's a really good backup, and that's what I like him as, like, in real football.
Yeah,
and then when you have to start him, yeah, you don't want to have to start him, but if you have to, I guess you can't plug him in.
You know, this is a fantasy podcast, right? And we're not talking about real life.
I know, but it's just gonna be interesting. Like, if Leonard does go down, or when he goes down. Like, I feel like it's going to be too much committee for me to want any of these guys.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm just saying it's eye to watch. That's it. Isaac's players to watch.
Yeah.
Not draft, not pick up, just watch.
Just to look at, but, like an expensive thing on a shelf, don't touch them. Don't pick them up. Just look at them.
Unless you win the lottery and are lucky enough to get it.
Until you know more.
All right. So next guy, Alexander Madison, running back for the Vikings. The Boise State product is already the 2nd option in that backfield behind Dalvin Cook. If Dalvin Cook cannot stay healthy, look for Madison to step right into that starting role. And James, I know you got something else to add on to that.
Yeah. So the reason I'm actually okay with this one is because he actually is a good handcuff. If Cook does go down, which is very likely, we've seen guys produce. Unlike in Jacksonville, we've actually seen guys step in Minnesota and produce in Latavius Murray. He actually could be relevant.
And Jarrett McKinnon, too.
And Jarrett McKinnon, a couple years back. So he actually could be relevant if Cook were to go down. I actually was listening to another podcast today, actually, where they were talking about how he's going to be very productive. He'll probably be drafted in a lot of leagues late. So he's someone to look at. I wouldn't draft him in our league because our structure is different, but he is someone to just kind of keep an eye on if Dalvin Cook doesn't seem to progress. So,
all right. Last but not least in the injury section is a fellow Dorman alumni shout out, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, wide receiver for the Eagles. He's gonna be behind Deshaun Jackson as the Eagles' number 2 wide receiver. Jackson and Jeffrey get injured Always. They always have been fighting off injuries as of late. So don't be surprised if JJ is able to step in and produce given the chance. I mean, he was a great red zone weapon for the Stanford Cardinals last couple of years. So I'm really happy for him to see another Dorman alumni. That's 3 out there. How many Spartan High ones out there? 0. All right, so got my little rant over. Next, I got my training camp and preseason guys to watch. Now, I know James is going to have a lot to say about this one.
Yeah,
I've been hyping this.
We've been fighting
Go
about
ahead.
this guy all day long. All day long. We have been going back and forth on what we think is going to happen with him. So you get to hear both sides of the story, I guess, everybody.
Yeah, and it's a guy I've been hyping up for the past podcast. It's David Montgomery. Got drafted by the Bears. Monty is what I'm going to nickname him. He's going to be competing with Mike Davis to be the lead back in that committee. Jordan Howard is no longer there, and he ran for 250. He had 250 touches for 935 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. Mike Davis, last year was his first year to have over 100 carries. Tariq Cohen saw around 99 touches with 71 receptions on 91 targets. Tariq Cohen's a good running back, good fantasy option, but lacks really the frame because he's so small to take punishment over and over and over again. So his role likely won't increase more than it is. I can actually see his touches being decreased with 2 viable options behind him. So that's around 250, 275 touches in the air. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things play out in Chicago if David Montgomery wins the job or if Mike Davis wins the job, and how are they utilized? Because Montgomery can run between the tackles and catch. He's a do-it-all back, and like I said, I'm still going to target him. But Jameson wants to go ahead and add some contradicting stuff on
Yeah, just basically tear down everything Isaac just said. So I'm on the opposite end of this. I loved him before the draft. Didn't like where he went. Too many mouths to feed. Tariq Cohen's going to get all of the passing work, which is where running backs make their money in PPR leagues, especially one structured like ours. I actually do think Mike Davis is a threat to David Montgomery's work. I think Mike Davis runs well. Like Isaac mentioned, over 100 carries last year.
Shout out South Carolina Gamecock alumni.
Yes. Yep.
Mike Davis.
So just to break it down, if Tariq Cohen goes down to 75 touches, which would be less than what he got last year, so conservative side, Mike Davis only has 100, which is conservative, 175. That only leaves David Montgomery with 175 at the most. At the most, 5 yards a carry. That's barely over 800 yards. That's not anyone. That's less than Jordan Howard last year. So that's not anyone that I'm going to be super excited about. Mike Davis destroyed Rashad Penny's fantasy value along with Chris Carson last year, and I could see it happening again. Barring an injury, I don't see a path for David Montgomery to be an extremely fantasy relevant running back. I think he'll have good weeks, but not anyone that I'm targeting.
Rashad Penny kind of destroyed his production himself in the preseason and stuff by not playing well. Because if he would have played well in the preseason and all that, he would have been the starter over Chris Carson. Well, he just didn't play well, and he didn't run well.
Well,
so he just was buried in the depth chart.
I mean, they had a lot of capital in him, though. He was a first-round pick, and they were literally.
I know, they didn't give up on him.
No, they didn't, and they kept trying. And Mike Davis, he ran well. So did Chris Carson, but I don't know. To say that he gets Jordan Howard numbers, even if he does, which I think is on the high side, I'm still not excited about that. Running back 20-something,
I don't know. I see Montgomery as like an RB3 at best. So I don't know. I think, dude, Tariq's going to be, I think he's going to be putting up pretty good numbers. He's a guy that you could almost argue as a solid RB2 for sure. I'm not really thrilled to have Montgomery on my team.
That's cool.
Or even excited to really see him
I'll take him. That's cool. Just nobody draft him, and I'll get in the 17th round.
It's funny you say that.
Performs great.
Because I was thinking that same thing. I was like, we're just going to destroy his fantasy value, and I'm just going to get him late in the draft, and then he'll have him for real cheap.
I should have just left you.
Well, granted, Isaac drafts every rookie running back that's possible. Every year.
No, I'm not going to do that now. I have Melvin Gordon, Philip Lindsay, and Aaron Jones. All right. So next, I know there's a ton of Steelers fans out there that are listening. So you guys already know you guys drafted Deontay Johnson, a slot wide receiver. He's going to battle with Eli Rogers and Ryan Switzer for this, like I said, starting slot role in camp and preseason. They drafted him in second overall in the 3rd round. I mean, just to listen to some of these people that the Steelers drafted and have both been fantasy relevant and real life relevant. Juju Smith-Schuster, 2017. Martavis Bryant, 2014. Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders, 2010. Mike Wallace, 2009. Real life. This was before my time, fantasy-wise, but I'm sure maybe a couple of you guys may have been able to use some of these guys in fantasy. You got Santonio Holmes back in 2006, Antoine Randall L in 2002, Platsko Burris in 2000, and Hines Ward in 1998. So these are some guys that, I mean, the Steelers know how to draft wide receivers. It shows right there. I mean, if you pick another team, you cannot give me a list as good as this one. So they know how to get the best out of the wide receivers, and he's supposed to be the next big thing.
Yeah, someone to keep an eye on.
Jermaine Pratt's the next guy, outside linebacker for the Bengals, going to go into camp battling with Nick Vigil and Jordan Evans for the starting outside linebacker role. If he wins, he could definitely be fantasy relevant, but it really just determines if he wins or not. Nick Vigil has shown flashes that he can produce numbers. You know, Vontez Burfict's no longer there. He's with the Oakland Raiders. So both left and right sides are free, and these guys are the supposedly starters. So we'll see if he pays out. There's a lot of hype coming in with his name. Now he's supposed to have a breakout, like out of nowhere type production, like Darius Leonard did. Not the 45 or 50 points a game, but just he came from South Carolina State, and I don't even know where Jermaine Pratt came from, and I know a lot about prospects and stuff. So yeah, he's another guy just to keep your eye out on during trading camp. All right, 2 more guys. We got 2 DBs. Juan Thornhill. It should be free safety, but I'll get in that in a second. For the Chiefs, he's projected to be a backup to Tyrann Mathieu. Jordan Lucas and Daniel Sorensen are projected to be competing for that strong safety spot. So my biggest thing is, do they move Mathieu to strong safety and start Thornhill at free safety? Or is this is really just going to come down to training camp and determine where Andy Reid wants to line him up as to determine his fantasy value. Because if he's a backup, he's not. If he moves to slot, he's really not. But if he starts, then yes, he would be a viable option.
Yeah, this is my pre-draft guy. Juan Thornhill. I think they could definitely move Tyrann Mathieu over to strong safety. I think what they're gonna do is he's gonna be more versatile. He's gonna play everything. He's gonna play every position. He's gonna play certain packages. The upside of that is he could be on the field quite a bit because of that. The downside of that is you never know when he's gonna be on the field. It makes it hard to scheme against opponents and things like that. So we'll see what they end up doing. But yeah, I mean, you're right. There definitely are some other safeties there to battle with. So we'll see how it goes in camp.
All right. Last but not least, Marquise Blair, defensive back for the Seahawks. They drafted him in the 2nd round. He's going to battle with Tedrick Thompson for the starting free safety role. And we already know that Bradley McDougald is the starting strong safety, so that spot's locked up. So this is going to be a position battle. They did just some high capital in him, so we'll see if he wins. If he does, he will definitely be an option, a fantasy option. But we'll see when it comes out.
Well, we've got 10 guys here. So before we finish off the show, 10 guys here. We want to talk about were fantasy winners or losers based on what their teams did. So these are not guys that were drafted this year, but guys that were already in the league and that we think either their fantasy value went up or down based on what their teams did. So, Patrick, do you want to lead us through this segment, or do you want me to just kind of run with it?
Yeah, no, I got this for sure. So to start it off, Carson Wentz for Philadelphia. I mean, fully recovered from the 2018 injury. I feel like the weapons he's got on his offense, more than 2 good running backs. I mean, he's got a stable of running backs behind him. He's got 2 solid receivers at this point, plus an elite tight end to top it off. I mean, their offensive line with Andre Dillard, who I was a huge fan of going into this draft. This is a guy I kind of wanted us to be able to snag. But hey, I'll take whatever at this point with the pick that we ended up wasting in the first round.
Brian Burns.
Finally,
The stadium was silent when they drafted him, and it was just so funny. Just like, ha, 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 ha. As a Bucs fan.
Dude, I literally sat there. That they were about to make the pick. I'm going off the rails a little bit, but this is my reaction to this pick. I'm sitting there. I see Sweat still available. I almost get up and walk away because I know the pick we're about to make is about to be Sweat. And I literally am sitting up and they say Burns. And I'm like, what? Like, I thought I misheard everything just then. I was thrown in for a loop. I am like, what just happened? Like,
Yeah, we saw the text messages that you sent us after that pick.
Oh my goodness.
So many exclamation points and question marks.
So many words we can't say on the podcast.
Yeah. So yeah, to say the least, great success built around Carson Wentz. As long as they can keep this man healthy, I think we're going to have a great QB1 season out of him in fantasy. Running back wise,
he did go up.
Sorry.
Carson Wentz did go up, I think, in my rankings after the draft, after what happened for sure.
Oh yeah.
So I agree.
In our league, he may be one of the best quarterbacks available in the draft this coming year.
Yep.
So running back wise, look at David Johnson, man. New coaching staff. Thank God for everyone involved in Arizona. And better scheme that should be able to utilize him a little bit more. They've also added a couple more offensive weapons, which they did not have anything at all up until recently, especially last year. You've got, Kyler Murray is going to add a whole new dynamic to that offense.
Butler.
You can almost envision, yeah.
Yep.
What I like about Murray is kind of think of that Cam Newton factor in the Panthers offense. Some of the guys the Panthers have aren't that great, but they flourish because Cam Newton's able to scramble. They have more time to get open and make the pass. Kenyon Drake is another guy that I'm super excited about. Again, new coaching staff and new scheme that's going to utilize him way better than he was being utilized. I've been a fan of Kenyon Drake for a while, but last year they couldn't get anything going as a team. I think there's way bigger issues than Drake at the player level. Sorry, I lost track there for a second, but only Kalen Ballage is the only other running back that could really threaten his touches, and I'm not too concerned about that. Honestly, I feel like the only threat to the Dolphins offense at this point is the quarterback they just got.
Oh, you throwing Rosen under the bus already? He hasn't even had a snap yet.
Yes, dude. Oh my God. Like, that's the one thing that does concern me about Drake is no one takes that passing threat legitimate. Not that they did to begin with, but especially now. Dolphins did draft.
I was just gonna say Kenyon Drake was definitely underutilized last year. So even if it's remotely, like even a little bit better, he'll have a more productive season for sure.
I'm not saying this guy is a must draft in the first couple rounds of anyone's draft. He's a guy to get kind of later in the draft if he's there, maybe an offseason waiver wire type deal. Like good to have, but you definitely don't want him as your RB1 going into the year if you can help it.
God no. Yeah.
So another guy, Sterling Shepard for the Giants. Dude, they just re-signed him this offseason. And tell me who they added in this draft. Because they didn't draft anyone until the 5th round of the draft. And Sterling Shepard without Odell Beckham should be the guy getting a lot of these passes. Or at least one of the guys. Not that they have a lot of talent there.
No, they like him a lot. He could definitely, his value is going to skyrocket. I think he's going to be productive this season. I actually like Sterling Shepard.
Yeah. And like I said, there's no Odell Beckham Jr. there. Sure, they got Saquon Barkley, but there's only so.
Don't forget,
you can't pound the rock every play in this year's.
Don't forget they got Golden Tate. It's going to be Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard show in New York.
Sterling Shepard's still the one.
Though,
oh yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
okay,
he's on the offense too. He's not like the only weapon. Like so they're going to have to pay attention to Golden Tate too, and that should help coverage with Shepard.
Another duo. I think Isaac would definitely be excited about this. Chris Godwin, OJ Howard in Tampa Bay. Listen, the Bucs went almost all defense in this draft, and it makes complete sense when you look at how horrendous some of those games were. I mean, not that they were getting blown out every game. I'm just saying, like, you guys definitely needed help on the defensive side of the ball, especially with some of the key losses, like Quan Alexander. Adam Humphries and Deshaun Jackson are gone. I think this definitely propels both of these guys and getting way more target shares than ever before. I think that we're going to see the best OJ Howard we have seen thus far in his career.
Don't forget.
Which, I mean, isn't that far, but
yeah, I was going to say.
You get what I'm saying.
Read that last line. I thought that was crazy between those two guys, Deshaun Jackson and Adam Humphries.
182. Yeah, 182 exact targets between these two are up in the air. That's crazy to think about. In our league, that's a total of 182 points. Now, not every league operates in a full PPR format like we do, but that's a lot of points there sitting on the board.
And you also have to think Chris Godwin had 60 to 70 catches last year already. So he's definitely, I think, going to surpass that 100 reception mark.
So the next guy up here is one that I am definitely pumped about, dude. I am so excited. No, DJ Moore, every Panther fan listening is probably in the same boat I am saying this. He is the guy on the passing game this year. I mean, other than Christian McCaffrey, but that's a different animal, a different beast to talk about. Carolina lost Devin Funchess and Damiere Byrd. Not that Damiere Byrd was getting a lot of the targets to begin with, but still, that's going to free up a couple more for a guy like DJ. You look at the fact that the Panthers added only 2 receivers this offseason, and it's not like Cam had a ton of talent to throw the football to either.
Nope.
But we did sign Chris Hogan, which I was very I mean, come on. You got to be a little excited about Chris Hogan there.
It was solid. It was a solid depth signing for sure.
I liked it. Another guy, Terry Godwin, drafted the 6th round. I'm not super pumped about it. Good special teams guys, kind of the way I look at it. No one fantasy relevant though, and not a guy you need to worry about stealing stuff from DJ Moore. Jameson, I think you had something to say next.
Yeah, there's not a single threat on that entire offense to DJ Moore. I mean,
Christian McCaffrey, boom, roasted.
Christian McCaffrey had 112 receptions last year. That's going to regress for sure. I'm 100% positive that's going to regress. Yeah, DJ Moore, he's gonna be a borderline wide receiver 1 this year. I guarantee it. That's how productive he's going to be.
You gonna put your money where your mouth is, there, Jamie?
Absolutely. I'll absolutely put my money where my mouth is. I said borderline, so 12-13 territory. Absolutely. Okay. I'll take that all day long. Like Jarvis Landry.
Loser has to go buy themselves a nice, I mean, a premium quality Johnny Manziel jersey and wear it to the following year's draft.
That's not that bad. I mean, I kind of like Johnny Manziel, so that's not that bad. No, I already lost.
You already lose, Isaac.
He's a Heisman Trophy winner. Doesn't matter how he did in the NFL. He was great in college.
Hey,
it's like
Chris Winkie was a Heisman winner. You don't see me wearing a Panthers Chris Winkie jersey.
It's like Tim Tebow. I would wear a Tim Tebow jersey. He was crap in NFL. Oh, whatever. No, I already lost my bet with Jameson, so I'm not betting with him anymore.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Had to buy a beer. 2 beers cost me $18 at the stadium.
Oh yeah, that stuff's expensive, man. You go to an NFL game and try to buy any kind of alcohol, you're walking out of there a poor man.
Well, here's what happened. So I know it's off track, but Isaac said, I bet this pick is going to be Ed Oliver, not Quinnen Williams to the Jets, number 3. I was like, Isaac, you're crazy. It's Quinnen Williams. It ended up being Quinnen Williams, obviously, and so Isaac had to get me a beer. And then he showed me his mock draft. He had Quinnen Williams there, not Ed Oliver. So I don't know why he even bet me that it would be Ed Oliver instead of Quinnen Williams, but it was hilarious. It was a hilarious moment.
Yeah,
and I didn't drink
my
beer. The beer was disgusting.
Yeah, I ended up drinking because it's Bud Light and he didn't like it, so I was like, give it here. So I drank it. I'm not wasting a $9 beer. But my personal mock draft, I got 9 out of 32 right. I mean, that's pretty cool. I thought I did really good. So
that's good.
Anyway, back to the topic. Jameson, you're on losers.
Yeah. So here's some of the losers. That was all the winners of the draft. Cut a couple losers here. Real quickly, Case Keenum. Not that he's even relevant anyway, but obviously Dwayne Haskins is going to be the future of that franchise. Don't draft either one of them, but definitely don't draft Case Keenum. So Keenum, this is for you, buddy. We've got another one here. This one's going to be pretty controversial, but I've been saying it all off season. Todd Gurley.
Wait.
What?
Wait. Get the Aaron Rodgers one in real quick.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers didn't draft any receivers for Aaron Rodgers. He still got the same guys as he did last year. Devontae Adams can still be productive, but it could hurt Aaron Rodgers, I think, in the long term, at least according to Isaac. He wanted us to mention that one.
Now do the horn.
All right, hold on. Isaac wants me to do the horn too. You're a lot more like anti-Aaron Rodgers now that he's not on your team anymore than you used to be.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Rodgers, but I'm a big fan of Rodgers, but they just really gave him no weapons. They lost Randall Cobb. Granted, he was injured most of the season, but he was still a known target. They already lost Jordy Nelson. I mean, they only have Devontae Adams now. Everything else is up in the air.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have to come up from the groundworks to take over that wide receiver 2 and even the slot role. So We'll see.
We'll see who it is. Todd Gurley, the Rams. So a lot of things here lead me to believe that Todd Gurley is not as healthy as people want to think he is. The Rams matched the Lions offer sheet to Malcolm Brown to re-sign him. Then they traded up to the very top of the third round to draft Darrell Henderson, who I like a lot. So I think there's some serious concern over his knee. And one, a couple things. He's either isn't as healthy as he says he is. And then maybe 2, he won't end up with as much volume as he did in his previous years. I think they might not move to a full committee, but I think they're going to bring people in to spare him on some of his work, short yardage work and things like that, which could take touchdowns and things from him. They give him $60 million. This is not a guy they want to run into the ground and destroy. I mean, they're going to take some of the workload off of him. I mean, I'm seriously concerned for Todd Gurley after seeing what's happening. I would not be shocked if he wasn't a top 5 running back this year. So I think he's a fantasy loser, after everything that's happened. But
all right, play the horn.
Oh yeah, Todd Gurley. Sorry, man. I like you a lot. Real quickly here, Jordan Howard. We've already touched on it a little bit. Isaac and I, again, we're kind of wrapping up, so we don't want to get into a 20-minute long conversation. But he managed just 935 yards, 9 touchdowns last year. He's going to be in a committee. He's not going to win. He's not going to be the primary running back. And even if he is, I'm not concerned about him being overly productive. He doesn't catch the ball well, which makes him not a great PPR back anyway. And then with Miles Sanders there in a committee, it doesn't look great for him. Not to say that he won't be somewhat productive. I don't want to oversell it and say that he's trash and Miles Sanders has a starting job locked and everything like that.
Yes, he's trash. Let me draft him.
But I think I have concerns. He's definitely a loser. That the fact that the Eagles went and got a running back that high in the draft. So, any thoughts, Isaac? No.
Play the horn.
Okay. Isaac got some notes there, but we'll talk more about him off the show. And then finally, Tyreek Hill. We already talked, or I guess 2 more guys here. Tyreek Hill. We talked a little bit about it. He's probably going to be suspended, if not kicked off the Chiefs entirely.
He's already been suspended.
He's already already suspended. He may be removed from the team all entirely. I don't think he's going to play this year. At least not most of it. So, sorry, Tyreek Hill. They drafted your replacement.
But if you guys don't know, right before the NFL draft started, the audio recording was released of him discussing his child's broken arm, which led to the Chiefs automatically suspending him and not letting him be a part of the team. And he could be on the commissioner's exempt list at the start of the season. So, yes, he could not play this year, or he could be released by the Chiefs. So don't be surprised if they pull a Kareem Hunt like they did last year.
Yeah. By the time we release this episode, we can actually hear about some of that. So, sorry, Tyreek Hill. And finally, one more guy.
Sorry, Mike.
Sorry, Mike. Wait, hold on. I didn't think I'd get a chance to play this.
Hey, are you Dirty Mike and the boys?
We
We had to find a way. We got it in the last 55 minutes.
Do you have the other? Do you have the other one in a memorial?
Yeah, Dante Pettis, that guy.
No, the other sound drop for Dirty Mike. Avengers. You get it? Memorial.
I don't think I do. It's not on the soundboard today.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's not dirty enough for you today, apparently. Last one, Dante Pettis. So a lot of thoughts that he would be the wide receiver one. He definitely still can be, but they brought in Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurd with really high picks, 2nd and 3rd round. They've still got Marquise Goodwin, Trent Taylor, Jordan Matthews. I don't love Jordan Matthews at all, but Jimmy Garoppolo shows no, penchant for throwing to a certain guy or a certain area on the field yet. He hasn't played enough for us to know. So until I know what's going on, I'm staying away from a guy like Dante Pettis. Even though I like his talent, they just spent way too much capital on other receivers to let him be the only guy. So Dante Pettis, sorry, man. But that is the show. Ton of information, guys. Sorry it ran long. We wanted to get as much to that as we possibly can because we're done with rookie episodes for a little while. I guess we'll talk more about the rookie draft itself. But the keeper deadline is next, so focus on that. We'll be back with that next week. And guys, is there anything else you want to say before I let us out here?
Love you.
Doberman rules.
If you want to crown them, then crown them.
That was good.
All right, guys, we are out. All right, we'll see you next week.